Welcome to what I hope is our last. It is certainly our first and hopefully our last virtual Q&A for the Big Tell. So I'm so happy all of you could join us this evening. While I think we still have a few more folks who are going to hop on, so while we wait for other folks to come online, why don't we take just a moment to get acquainted with who is here with us tonight. And this will be good practice for using the functions on Zoom in case anyone's been not familiar with it. So why don't, while we wait for folks to hop on, why don't you jump online, go to the chat section and put your name in the chat box and include where you're from, the county or city that you're from, an organization you represent, whether or not you're a filmmaker, and we'll give some shout outs that way. So if you see at the bottom of the box the little bubble that says chat, just click on that and put your name in, and we'll see who's joined us. Okay, I see some familiar names on here. So Katrina from Fresno, Angelica, filmmaker from Fresno, Corey, filmmaker from Fresno. Super excited to submit my film this year. Katrina's in the advertising industry. Sergio, oh look, good to see some familiar names here. So Sergio from Fresno, Alex from Selma, and Michael Price from Fresno, filmmaker from LA who just moved back to the Valley. Welcome, Michael. It's good to have you back. And Brian Harley, our very dear friend from CMAC in Fresno. Everything's better when Brian's around. So Brian, it's great to have you here. Well, thanks everybody. That was a great way to get connected, and also just a little way to practice for if you have any questions or comments that you would like to raise during this presentation, just go ahead and put them in the chat. Make sure that the chat box is set for everybody, so it's not private, and that way we can answer questions as we go. So that being able to use the chat function is helpful because since this is not an opportunity for real face-to-face interaction, if you have comments or questions, you just put them in the chat box. We'll answer them as we go. But if you don't get a question in there or you think of something later, we will also have a Q&A at the end where you can ask questions. So as I said, it's just great to have everybody here. We're really, really excited about this year's The Big Tell. Little unconventional, perhaps this year, but yeah, we're really looking forward to it, and there's a lot of excitement around it, as always. So, and I see Corey is already using the chat function, asking if the screening of the films will still be going on as planned in October at the Tower Theater. So yes, we will. As of right now, we are still planning for Tower Theater October 23rd, the showcase where we will premiere all 10 films. However, we understand that that may change, and we actually have some really exciting plans B, C, and D in case for some reason we can't all gather at the Tower Theater. So I'm not going to reveal what those are yet because we are still nailing down the details, but the options are other options are really good. So yeah, always we want to make sure that the Big Tell every year ends with a bang and is really exciting culmination of everybody's hard work. So oh, and Kyle Lowe from CMAC in Fresno just joined us. So hi, Kyle, welcome. Okay, so tonight we're going to introduce you to CVCF, the Central Valley Community Foundation, and our team. We'll talk to you about the Big Tell and why we do it, We'll share a timeline of important dates and some tips for filling out your application. And then, as I mentioned, we'll wrap with time to answer some questions. So let's get started. A little bit about Central Valley Community Foundation and our team. So my name is Gretchen Moore, and I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Central Valley Community Foundation. And we're joined online tonight with other members of my team, Laura Maciel, who is our Communications Manager, and Laura Ramos, who is our Community Engagement Associate. You'll hear from Laura and Laura in a bit. For now, though, I'd like to give you a brief overview of CVCF, who we are, what we do, and why we do it, which I think will give some good context for what we're looking for in Big Tell films. Central Valley Community Foundation has been around for 53 years. We are formerly the Fresno Regional Foundation. Like other community foundations throughout the country, we support local nonprofits through grant making. That's our main function. And most of the grant making that we do is done as donor advised grant making, meaning our donors advise us on where to put charitable dollars that they contribute. So just like it sounds. But in 2017, CVCF added a new focus to our work. We really wanted to focus on community transformation to solve some of the big challenges that face our community. So we launched programs to fundamentally change the region by attracting large-scale investment from around the country to help us make big changes to regional systems like education, economy, neighborhoods, environment. And every time we would go out and talk about the Central Valley, we would run into the same problem. Not a lot of people knew about the Central Valley, and those that did, frankly, didn't always have the best impression. I know that's probably not really news to a lot of you, but you know, all of us, we all know that the Central Valley is amazing and filled with inspiring, creative, dynamic people who are doing just really incredible things. But there's no way to get the word out that was effective. And we didn't want to do like a cheesy marketing campaign that's, you know, just frankly really inauthentic. We wanted to hear about our communities from our communities. And even though we knew a lot about the Central Valley, we knew there was a whole lot more that we didn't know. And so that's why we created the Big Tell in 2017. And Laura, if you can move it to, oh, look how good she is, the next slide. Thank you. So we created the Big Tell Film Contest as a way to lift up incredible stories about the Central Valley, as a way to raise the profile of our region and provide a shareable platform for diverse voices to tell their stories. We wanted to change what people think about us, as well as the way that we think about ourselves as a community. So much of that negativity comes from here in our own community, and you know, we wanted to make that stop. We also learned that we have a really incredible community of filmmakers here in the Central Valley, and so we wanted to support local filmmakers by providing them with opportunities for professional development, and that means providing grants of $5,000 upfront to make the films. So you don't have to make a film and then hope you get selected. So we give you the money first. And then we don't restrict what you can use grant dollars for if you're a Big Tell filmmaker. And finally, we provide filmmakers with mentorship and professional development opportunities. We work with Sasha Rice, who is an Emmy-nominated documentarian from LA. She works with filmmakers on everything from developing the storyline to how to interview subjects, to how to get licensing for your music, to getting your completed films into film festivals and leveraging what you've created through the Big Tell to a larger audience. Three components of the Big Tell are, and this is what drives us. So we are looking for undiscovered stories. We want to hear about things we haven't heard of before, or a new take on something that we didn't know. Second is a Central Valley focus. Of the 10 films that are selected, we commit that at least one film will be from each of the 6 counties that we represent. So Madera, Merced, Mariposa, Fresno, Tulare, and Kings. And we wanted the films to be relevant and reflective of the region because this is about the community. So we wanted to make sure that the films really say something about who we are as a community. And then the third thing is diversity. And we want diversity in both the filmmakers and the stories that they tell. So those are our 3 main components: is the undiscovered stories, the Central Valley focus, and then diversity. So I'd like to play a quick video for you so you get the gist of what we're going for. So this video is from Haley White, who is a filmmaker from 2017 Big Tell and 2019 Big Tell. We played this film to kick off the 2018 The Big Tell Showcase, which is the night at the end of the Big Tell process when we premiere all of the films to the full audience at the Tower Theater in Tower in Fresno. And so here's Haley's video.
The Valley kind of has a self-esteem issue. You hear from a lot of people that even live here that they don't like where they live, can't wait till they move. And we want to try to change those minds.
Okay, tell me why Fresno sucks.
People are like, well, I don't like it here. And you're like, well, did you go to this and that?
They know, oh, this is where all the migrant workers live, but there's just so much more to it.
Really, if you do social justice work, I would go to LA and see it thriving and being part of this great world, and I knew I had to come back and tell the stories that our communities need to tell.
Punjabi is now the 3rd most spoken language in the Central Valley. But we don't think of ourselves that way.
My dad put all of us in judo, but not everyone's stuck, no.
And I've lived in Avondale since 1947.
Well, I always thought that, I would move away, become this huge, wealthy celebrity, come back and throw money at London.
As an artist, you can confront your own issues and your own grief, but you can also help other people confront those same issues.
I would love to teach dance in a prison.
I do have an addiction, and I'm here to get it right.
When we came to live here in the Valley, I really wanted to continue in dancing ballet folklorico.
Our new neighbors were coming in from Syria as refugees.
And if I really feel like I've made a difference for someone, I feel good.
And quite honestly, we don't know what the future holds, but we know that it's going to get better.
I basically just told myself, it's game time.
The Central Valley is no longer my house, it is my home.
I think the Big Tell kind of reaches out and it grabs the urban and the rural and it blends it all together, and we're able to tell those stories without feeling like anyone's better than anyone else.
And what's absolutely unique about the Big Tell, it is local filmmakers telling their stories in the way that they want to tell them.
The Central Valley is a really special place. We always get compared to those big metropolitan areas. The mission of the Big Tell is so important in terms of getting those good stories about the good things that are happening in the Central Valley out to really a worldwide audience, but especially here at home.
Okay, so that's the overview of Central Valley Community Foundation and the Big Tell. You can see from that hype video, there were lots of clips of films that had been done in our first 2 years. So, you can kind of see what we were going for. You can find more information about the Big Tell online at www.thebigtell.org, where we have an FAQ to answer the most common questions that we get. And our staff is always available to answer any questions. So please feel free to reach out to us anytime. And I'm going to look in the chat to see if we have any questions coming up. It looks like Laura just entered the website. And now I'll turn it over to Laura Ramos, who is our Community Engagement Associate, and she's going to talk you through important dates coming up, and then tips for how to submit a good application. So take it away, Laura.
Thanks, Gretchen. Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Ramos. I'm the Community Engagement Associate at CVCF, and I'm going to go over some important dates that you should all keep in mind during this process. So, as many of you know, our applications opened on April 23rd, and they will remain open until June 19th. So June 19th is the last day to submit, which is about 11 days from today. After applications close, and I say applications because you are allowed to submit more than one application if you'd like, if you have many ideas for documentaries. Our committee will then deliberate and discuss which 10 filmmakers are selected. The winners will be announced July 9th. So you will definitely get an email from our team, whether you are selected or not. And so for those that are selected, the next phase will be to meet Sasha Rice at our meet and greet. Like Gretchen mentioned earlier, Sasha Rice is an Emmy-nominated documentarian. She has been working with us as a mentor for the Big Tell for a few years now and takes a huge interest in helping our filmmakers produce great films. She serves as a mentor, and she truly has the heart of a teacher, so she will assist in any way that she can to help you with your project. The next important date for those that are chosen is the final date to submit your final documentary that is ready to be premiered is actually October 14th. So that gives you about 3 months to produce this film. And the final film, I mean, it's everything is done. All the edits, there's no more configuration needed. All that should be done by October 14th, and then we will premiere it at the Big Tell Showcase on October 23rd. And I know someone asked if we will still have a showcase, and the answer is yes. Whether that's virtual or not, that will we'll keep you guys updated on that. But our plan is to still move forward with that. So Laura, if we can go on to the next slide. So for application tips, so we want you guys to be fully equipped and confident in when you submit your application. And we put together some do's and don'ts about what would make a really great application. So please submit, if you are going to be submitting more than one application, submit them individually. That way it just helps us with organization wise. And please fill out all the fields needed in the application. And the reason for that is if you are selected as a filmmaker, when I go to pull your application and fill out, the needed paperwork, I am grabbing that information from the application. So it helps smooth the process a little bit faster to get that grant, $5,000 grant to you to start producing your film. Another thing is, please be as thorough and concise as you can with your storyline, your timeline, your interviews. Make sure that you have that process started, as well as licensing, like Gretchen mentioned earlier. If you need permits to film somewhere in town, licensing for music, and now with the COVID-19, perhaps consent for your contributors may be needed, and then as well as your film crew. Please also remember that this is a documentary film contest. We are looking for non-fiction films that present actual and factual information, and works of fiction or propaganda will not be selected. So make sure to keep that in mind. As for the don'ts, please try to think of a unique take on the Central Valley with your story. A lot of the times we get filmmakers that will submit an application with a storyline similar to something that we've done in the past, thinking it will be it's what we're looking for. But the purpose of the Big Tell is to tell untold stories of our region. So just keep that in mind. Now, I know sometimes people feel very passionate and compelled to tell a certain story that maybe we've told in the past. I would then challenge you to take that story and think of it in a different lens or a different light and try to tell it differently with that. So don't be discouraged if that's something that you're facing. Just try to think of it in a different perspective. Another thing is, please don't wait until the last minute to submit your application. Technical difficulties happen when we least want them to, so just give yourself enough time. Like I said, the closing date is June 19th, so you still have a few days. And also, please don't worry if you do not have all the equipment needed to produce your film. We do partner with CMAC, with the Big Tell, and they have been just great community partners with this project. If you aren't aware of CMAC, they are a Community Media Access Collaborative, and they offer memberships for individuals, students, and organizations. So as a member, that includes access to their training workshops and use of production studio, editing suites, and portable field equipment upon certification for 1 year. Also, please note that with COVID-19, a few of their services have been limited or have been updated for web format. So if you want to learn more, have questions about that, reach out to CMAC about their current services, and you can learn more at cmac.tv or find them on social media at CMAC TV. And then the last thing is, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My email is right there at ramos@centralvalleycf.org, and I would be more than happy to help you with anything that you need. Next slide, Laurel. So filming tips during COVID-19. We definitely wanted to make sure to add on to this with what we're dealing right now with the pandemic. And so these are just a few tips that we found helpful, that might be helpful to you guys now that you may be going out and filming for your documentary. So we recommend that all participants wear a face mask, maintain 2 meters between one another, follow all the CDC guidelines that are given about hygiene. And you may also want to consider shooting outside or alternatives like remote filming or content generated by your subject. And if you are mentioning COVID-19, ensure that the information is factual and you're taking it from a credible source like the CDC or local health department. Make sure that your crew and contributors have consented to filmmaking. That's very important. We don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable about that. And also, we encourage creating a team protocol to sanitize all your equipment before and after each use. So that is it from me on the application deadline and the tips. I'll move it over to questions, and please feel free to ask any in the chat box like many of you have been doing. And also, we will be sending a recap email by tomorrow afternoon with the recording of this webinar, presentation, and additional information that you'll be hearing today. So feel free to answer any or ask any questions in the chat box. Corey says the 30-second video example on the application, can that be a trailer to the film?
Yes, it can. Yes, so that's, yep.
So the next question from Katrina is, for the company or organization section of the application, what should we write in if we aren't affiliated with a particular agency or organization? Correction.
Yeah, for that, you can just put NA for not applicable. That's fine. Okay, so Alex, the question, if some of the crew members have submitted applications, does that reduce chances of our film and their film being selected? So no, it does not. We actually have filmmakers each year who submit multiple applications. And there are people from the same team who submit different ideas. So as long as you're not submitting the same idea over and over, in which case we would just, disqualify the repetition. But yeah, multiple, different people from the same team can submit applications. So, which is, I guess, maybe while we're waiting for other questions to come in, I'll just, advise to look at the FAQ on the webpage, because we get a lot of the same questions about, what types of stories are we looking for, or how do we, what will increase my chances to be selected. And, it is really the most difficult thing to predict, because we don't know what applications are going to come in each year. And, we usually get 75 to 85 applications. We select 10 of them. So it's already really competitive. And we look at the 10 as a cohort. So if we get a lot of applications about murals, say, we're really only going to pick one. Which is not to say the other applications aren't great, but with only 10 films to premiere, we're not going to show multiple applications of the same subject. So in a way, the applicants are kind of competing against one another. So it's really hard to say what subject matter we would select. So.
Gretchen, we got a question from Angelica. It says, as far as consent for filming during COVID-19, is that a form that we need to generate ourselves, or is that something specifically required from the Central Valley CF?
That would be up to you, and your organization or company or the people that you're working with. So we won't be checking for that. We just would hope that that everyone who's working on the Big Tell would be safe and responsible as possible. So yeah, not a requirement from us.
And while we're on questions, Gretchen, I just want to go over a few questions that I have gotten from filmmakers emailing prior to this. So we got one question about whether, if your documentary deals with 2 counties, but you only want to state one, that they're able to do so, however they want to represent their documentary.
Yep, that's a great question. So we had, in the past, we have had films that were valley-wide. We also have had films that take place in multiple counties. So I'm thinking of one, for example, Transformation in the Valley was about environmental and sustainable efforts happening in different places, and it was Merced and Fresno counties, and so yeah, so you can represent more than one county.
Michael asks, do we need to submit a budget along with our production schedule?
Really good question, Michael. No, we don't track what you do with the money. You can use it to buy new equipment. You can pay your crew. If you are an organization or an individual who's applying and not a filmmaker, you can use the money to hire the filmmaker. So we don't check what you do with the money. The only requirement on you is that you submit the completed film. And that you meet the other deadlines. So you have to work with Sasha Rice, and she'll have some mentorship opportunities with you. So you need to work with her. You need to come to the showcase in whatever form that is, October 23rd. Yeah, so we have some reporting things, but budget is not one of them. So
And on the topic of the grant, I know some filmmakers have asked in the past, when do they get their grant money? Do you want to go over that?
yeah, so the way the process works is, as Laura mentioned, applications are due by midnight, June 19th. We take all of the applications, we go through and pull out the ones that, you know, aren't complete, or maybe, you know, every year we get one or two that are not from California. The story is, you know, Boston or wherever. So we take out the ones that don't meet the requirements. And then we meet with a committee, a panel of judges who evaluate them, and we have kind of a knockdown, drag out fight over who the 10 finalists are. We announce the finalists, and from there you start working on your film, and you have 3 months to work on your film before the showcase. Now, once we announce the winners, we send you a packet that has information in it. We'll need a W-9 from you. We'll need a signed contract from you. Because this is a grant, we can only make grants to nonprofits. So you either need to be a nonprofit, be affiliated with a nonprofit, or you can use CMAQ as your nonprofit. We cut the check to the nonprofit. They give it to you, and that's the check process. So that, from the time, you know, we give you your packet to the time you get the information back to us, and then we cut the checks, it's usually 3 to 4 weeks, you know, and depends a lot on the filmmakers on how quickly they get that turned back into us. So if we announce beginning of July, I would say by the end of July you would have your check, and we make it in one payment, a full payment of $5,000.
Thanks, Gretchen. Corey asked, if selected, what limitations are there in regards to promoting your film?
Okay. Yeah, so the part of the contract that you'll sign says that your film cannot be publicly viewed before the showcase. So that premiere on October 23rd is the first time it will be shown. And then from there on out, we share rights to the film. So you can use it in any way you like. And then we have a list of ways that we would use their film, you know, for promotional purposes, or, you know, posting on our social media, you know, sharing with the community at large. So, you know, once the film premieres in October, it's yours to do what you want with. We've had filmmakers who, you know, then use their film in film festivals. We've had filmmakers who have turned their 5-minute film into a 15-minute film, or we have one that's working on making hers a feature. So, you know, from there you can kind of do what you like with it. Another restriction that we didn't mention tonight is we ask that in the film, in your credits, that you recognize CVCF and our sponsor, which is the James B. McClatchy Foundation. So we ask for that recognition as well.
And Gretchen, if I could just add to that, this is Laura Maciel. Before the actual showcase itself, we do ask that no clips of, you know, if you wanted to do a teaser, like a 30-second thing, as long as it's not a clip, it's fine. We've had filmmakers in the past do like behind the scenes photos and tag us in it. Like, we're more than happy to share those kind of things of promoting your film. Like, hey, we're working on our film. Here's the behind the scenes of someone that we're interviewing. That's completely fine, and we totally support that, as long as it's just not actual clips of the film that's going to be shown.
Yeah, so if you guys have any additional questions, I'll, all right. Yeah, I don't think.
I think in response to Laura's comment, what if it is a clip that doesn't make the final edit of the film? Yeah, I think that should be fine. Yeah, what we, the reason for those restrictions is because, as much as filmmakers are making their own film and this is their own project, for us, organizing the Big Tell, it's about all of these 10 films premiering at the same time on a night where we celebrate film and stories from the Central Valley. And that's what the Big Tell Showcase is all about. So, we really rely on the filmmakers to be, respectful of that and of one another as part of this cohort of filmmakers who are coming together at the Big Tell to share their films and share their stories. So, I would say use your best judgment on that. So,
Yeah. So I think if we don't have any more questions, if you guys do come up with other questions, or feel free to email me. Again, my email is, and I'll put it in the chat box, ramos@centralvalleycf. Please follow us on social media. We update all of our news on there, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We have the past, the Big Tell films on our YouTube channel. And we also have a few, if you guys want to stick around, we have a few, three documentaries that we've done in the past going to be playing after this webinar. That way you get a feel about what kind of films that we've done, and maybe you'll get inspired to add on to your application.
So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We are so excited about the Big Tell, and we can't wait to hear your stories and to see what you have for us. So stick around and enjoy these films. They're some of our favorites.
Yeah, come on now.
Because of the green team, I don't really have too much free time on my hands to be messing around with friends or going to hang out at night and getting in trouble and stuff. The green team, they always have me busy, have me occupied. It's just a good thing that I've overcome those obstacles that I was facing back then. I worked with Scrub Can. What I learned over there was that I never knew we had trucks that just came to clean up all this stuff, like trash cans and stuff, especially with the purple water. It's a good way to use the purple water. It's reclaimed water. It's water that you're not allowed to drink, so it's not potable.
Up here, remember I said on the surface?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They hide in those spots. So I spray boom, boom, and it sticks long.
After learning all these things, I kind of want to just open my own business so that I could go have my own green business and just give back to the community too.
Click mark or select all and then do mark as red.
I was only 10.
There you go.
58.
See, from 120 to 58, that's not bad.
The other youth ambassadors are very motivated. We all get along. We all have the same mindset. We all really just want to give back to the community and help other people.
And then for this part, for that part, you can put it the zip tie to the top hole. So is this high enough? You got to put it up. Oh, that's neat, bro.
When I first started, I wasn't really sure exactly what I was going to be doing. I knew that a lot of sustainability and a lot of core work was going to be done on the computer, but I wasn't sure about the interactions that I was going to be having. So originally not being from Fresno, being from Oxnard, which is completely different from Fresno, not as hot, people are completely different, it's not as agriculturally based. It was tough for me to acclimate myself to Fresno. I spent about 3 or 4 years at Fresno State trying to get in that groove, and it just wasn't working out. I unfortunately was kicked out of Fresno State just recently, and I was kind of in that period where I was trying to figure out what exactly it is that I wanted to do, what it is that I needed to focus in on to become a better me.
Cities are centers of industry, but the resulting pollution is filling our lungs and making us sick. One major culprit is particulate matter, airborne particles of dust, soot, and smoke that are released when we burn fossil fuels or caked up during...
Since being part of the Green Team, I felt like we've talked about a lot of the things that are my core values, such as equity and sustainability. It's been very helpful being with the Green Team, kind of honing in on what I exactly want to do. We work with like a lot of community benefit organizations or CBOs, and working with them, it's been very helpful because I can actually see the work that they're doing in the community. It's not just, oh, what you saw on the news or what you saw on TV. It's actually being out there with them. And I think working with this Green Team has definitely helped me hone in on what that is. In the last 2 or 3 months, I've been able to put in an application and fortunately get back into Fresno State and begin on my educational path again. I felt as if the Green Team was kind of a segue into the person that I wanted to become and had strived to be my whole life. And I want to become a planner. A lot of things in California have dictated that we are important to the rest of the world because we're a beacon. Sustainability is on that forefront right now. And the Green Team, as well as this Green Jobs program, have allowed me to hone in on how we can actually do that as a community.
I moved to Fresno in July 2006. I was engaged to a man who's from the Valley, and then he was diagnosed with cancer September 6, 2006.
Having known Amy for a number of years, I know that one of the things that's really distinctive about her is the way she gets really passionate about various projects. Amy called me. I was working at the Fresno Bee at the time, and she wanted to come in and talk about what it would be like to start a dance company in Fresno. And I was really impressed with her desire to really elevate the cultural scene here.
My husband, Donnie, was really helping me to see how I could potentially be the change I want to see in the world, and I could just do it myself. We became a 501c3 nonprofit company, Fresno Dance Collective, otherwise known as NOCO, founded with the mission to expand the culture of dance through performance education and outreach. And then 3 months later, my husband died. I kind of had a manic response to grief. That first year we did 36 shows. I made so much work. I mean, work just dripped out of me.
She was able to kind of blend together all of these intense emotions and some amazing dance moves. As an artist, you can confront your own issues and your own grief, but you can also help other people confront those same issues.
I got an email from Lilia at the Fresno Arts Council looking for dance teachers for Prison Arts Project. It just was never a question, why not? Yes, I would love to teach dance in a prison. Prisons are correction and rehabilitation. We are a part of that rehabilitation. Many of these participants had very few choices in life. Many of them got in trouble so young and then went from juvie, surprise you're 18, get on this bus, now you're in prison. And their entire life has been institutionalized.
Dance is this outlet of where you don't have to worry about answering to somebody, and through dance you can tell your story and tell who you are. So in a way it becomes something where you aren't just some number, you are an actual person.
To practice movement that's indirect, it's free, it's unbound. When was the last time they were able to experience lightness in their body and not just heaviness? And when prison life is just the only thing they know, I can see why it's so difficult to live in the real world. And I can also see a little bit why you have this sort of repeated crime situations. Just, it would be very different to restart your life. And I've told them, you know, honestly, like losing a husband and restarting my life and not really wanting to die, but not really wanting to live in a weird world that I don't understand anymore, and having to just go into the depths of my soul and just become, that process helped me to relate to living in a world that doesn't feel like the real world.
I think there's a reason why it doesn't matter what culture you look at, whether it's prehistoric to today, that people practice art. It helps us work through some of the issues that we face just being human.
There are many benefits to arts education programs, and particularly with this population, it's a chance to be treated like a human. Fresno has really supported us throughout the years, and we get hired to go and perform, and I think that's a huge vote for what we're doing, that people believe in what we're doing. And the dream that I've built has been shared by many.
Sin música no hay danza. Sin danza no hay cultura. Sin cultura no hay vida. Y para nosotros esto es la vida. Fuera de nuestras tierras, aquí estamos. En Madera, Fresno y en todo el Valle Central. Para nosotros, la danza es para preservar nuestra cultura. Es para la nueva generación que viene en el futuro. Es para que ellos tengan la oportunidad de ser parte de esta comunidad. En nuestra comunidad todavía existe nuestra lengua materna. Existe la esencia de la comida de nuestros ancestros, la ropa, las naguas, los huipiles y la música que todavía sigue existiendo. Las chilenas, la música del viento que por tantos años todavía existen y siguen escuchando en tierras extranjeras. Sí, somos campesinos, pero somos mucho más. Somos arquitectos, doctores, maestros, matemáticos, filósofos, poetas, líderes, empresarios y más. El arte Oaxaca siempre ha existido. Somos más que una artesanía. Los extranjeros nos quisieron quitar nuestros rituales y tradiciones ancestrales, pero encontramos la manera de adaptar. Sí, esta danza es influida por nuevas creencias, pero las raíces vienen de muchos años más atrás. You, with your notebooks, your recorders, your cameras, you write our stories, you record our rituals, our sounds, and our songs. You take our pictures and you keep taking from us. And yet, here I am. I dance and resist by speaking my tongue and celebrating my life, even after you are gone. Ni kana koshita na tonyo, ni kana sinyo hibiton baon. Konikoto na color niyo, ni kana sin yakukokano. Dia kokokanoy katasay chilena. Dia chokokanoy sanyi sikano nimay. Kuachakuya sindiati, kuachakuya kundie ining. Nyandiendo yo nyo hondoy no hayay. Tanabasi na tanakuana. Chikando chilena na katasa chitong. Tana sinto tiko ganan toyo biti. Tate kano is nanakanoy. Nanakuita na si panyo tinanakatasana. Nyon diba. Davi ini chandyoshi na yona sano tiyo kiwi.